cocktail. Well, okay, it's kind of my riff slightly on a cocktail called the Boo Radley, which was invented by Chris Hanna from a bar in New Orleans. Now this is kind of based on what's known as the Creole cocktail, which was first, I think, written about as kind of a Manhattan riff in a cocktail book way back in 1916. So a sort of modern take on an old drink. And the switch outs that Chris Hanna did was he switched out rye for bourbon, sweet vermouth for cinar, and why did I forget the name? Oh, yes, that's it. Amer Piquant, which is a French, quite hard to find spirit. He switched that out for cherry herring. So what I've done is switch that back out for the closest that you can get to Amer Piquant in the US, which is an Italian drink called ciociaro. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So now I've given you a very lengthy introduction. It's going to be 2 ounces of bourbon, 3/4 of an ounce of cinar, and 1/2 an ounce of ciociaro. So just in case you don't know, cinar is a sort of Italian bitter. It's made with artichokes, hence the artichoke on the front. It comes in 2 different varieties. There's this one, which is like the original, the regular one, which is 16.5% alcohol. And then they do the cinar 70, which is sort of double the strength, so 70 proof, which will give you 35% alcohol. I haven't tried that. I'd really like to, but I thought that this would be more of an all-rounder, so this is what I got. It's my most recent Amaro purchase. Anyway, before I get carried away talking at you for the next 3 years, let's get started. So, over our ice, we're going to go in with the 2 ounces of bourbon. I feel like that's a good switch out. If you're going to switch sweet vermouth for something like cinar, which is bitter, then maybe switching out a spicier spirit like rye for bourbon is a good choice. Okay, then 3/4 of an ounce of the cinar. If you haven't ever had this stuff before, please don't be put off by the fact it's made from artichokes and that sounds like a weird thing. Often the best Amaro they're always made from weird things. So, for example, in Campari, the red colour originally came from a type of beetle that gave that very distinctive colour to the alcohol. This is made from artichokes. You've got rabarbaro, which is made from rhubarb. All very delicious. Okay, and then 1/2 an ounce of this. This also makes a really nice, sort of easy summer drink if you mix it with beer. Can't remember the official French name for that drink, but it's, especially if you're not a massive beer drinker, it's a nice kind of, I suppose as they would say these days, sessionable drink. So we're going to stir it, you know the rules, till the outside's cold. We're going to dilute it and chill it. And I was just thinking about this earlier. I know that sometimes when you see people, obviously I speed it up while I stir, but please don't scrimp on the stirring time, because you otherwise will, especially when you're pouring into a glass with no ice, your drink will get warm very quickly. So you do need to make sure that it is properly chilled. And like I've mentioned before, keep your glass in the freezer if you can. Okay, let's go. Okay, I think that should be good. I'm gonna strain this into a coupe, but use your glass of choice. Probably not going to give me quite the yield that I would want. I feel like nearly all cocktail glasses are either too big, either that or I'm not adding enough dilution. But I feel like my drinks usually taste pretty good, although I would say that, wouldn't I? Anyway, cheers. Let's give this a try. It smells delicious. You know, I feel like from the nose you wouldn't even almost be able to tell that cinar was in there. Oh, it smells complex and sweet and sort of warm and excellent, basically. Let's give it a taste. Oh, that's lovely. Okay, the cinar definitely comes through on the palate more than on the nose. Okay, so it kind of starts, I'm getting Manhattan-y vibes for sure. And then I'm getting a lot of warmth and spice and more complexity than you would ever get in a Manhattan, because you've also got that underlying bitterness in there that's kind of providing this note at a different level. Yeah, that's really tasty. Definitely one of those drinks for people who like their drinks bitter, although could be a good introduction for somebody who hasn't really broached into the world of Amaro yet, and you don't want to go like full on Negroni on them. You just sort of might ease them in something they're a bit more familiar with. It definitely is a riff on the blueprint of the Manhattan, and if they are a fan of Manhattans, this could be, I don't know why I always say they as if there's just one person out there watching these videos making drinks for a ton of other people. If you like Manhattans, but you're not so sure about Amaro, this could be a good introduction. The only disadvantage being that this comes in a litre bottle, and if you don't like it, then that kind of sucks. Maybe go in halves with a friend. Or potentially see if you could find a miniature, I don't know. I digress here, but speaking of miniatures and Amaro, I recently found an Instagram account called the Negroni account. So it's like Negroni but to go, and it's basically an entire account filled with people pouring Negronis on the go, I suppose, out of miniatures. So they have, and how they hold it all in one hand, 3 miniatures, the gin, the sweet vermouth and the Campari, all in one hand, and they kind of unscrew them and then just like tip it, upend it into a glass. It looks pretty cool, and I have a weird thing for miniatures. I wouldn't ever want to drink them, I would just kind of want to admire the tininess and cuteness of the bottles. I actually do keep some of the empty bottles that I get on planes, which is a really weird thing to admit, but you know, practicality-wise, pretty useful for when you do want to take booze on a plane, because PSA, for when we can actually travel again, booze on planes is really expensive, and you can take a certain amount of liquids through security as long as it's below the, I think it's 100ml limit. And I think you can take, okay, this isn't for all flights. I know that a lot of the flights in Europe, they've had to ban people bring their own alcohol on the plane, because I don't know what it is about us Europeans, we can't seem to just do something in moderation, and flights have had to be grounded because people got too drunk. But anyway, I think as far as transatlantic flights go, you can take your little miniatures, and then you could make your own Negroni on the plane. Very nice. So yeah, that was a massive sidebar there, but whatever. It's been lovely having you here, and I hope to see you here again next week in a metaphorical sense. And if you did enjoy this video, then please hit the subscribe and like buttons below. Leave me a comment. I would love to hear from you, what some of your favorite drinks are, or if you have any suggestions for recipes you'd like me to make on the channel.